Hello, welcome back to a couple conversations. So today we will be discussing a handful of important questions to ask when you're getting to know someone, whether in a relationship or outside, but this is more relationship focused. But let's get into it. So question number one, what do you eat? It may seem like an odd question to ask, but it makes a difference when you're getting into living together and the just like habitual range, which feeds into living together. I know in our experience, I have some dietary restrictions, and that brought up a good point, or you brought up a good point when we were talking about our groceries because we get groceries together, we share food. What that would look like if there were things in the house that I couldn't eat, or what it would look like similarly eat the same things, or if there are exceptions that need to be made. So that's kind of what that brings up for me. Extremely good question.
From a general standpoint, you want to identify how it is that you eat, how it is that the other person eats, can really determine the smoothness of interactions. Why? Just based off of what type of foods you're going to find in the house. There's also a financial aspect of it. If you're eating one way and then the other person's eating another way, it's like, well, now you got to purchase two types of food, two kinds of food to kind of supplement what you guys don't share interest in eating. So there's the financial aspect. And then you can also imagine, like, depending on how far and how deep the reasons for your dietary restrictions or dietary flexibilities are. For instance, this leads into another more common question, but like religiously, there are things that some people eat and don't eat, and there are some things that some religions just don't even want in the house, right? And you're not going to find pork in a Jewish home or a Muslim home. You're going to those things are just not going to be there. But if you are then involved in a relationship where somebody likes eating pork and you, for whatever reason, may not, then that could be a bone of contention, whether it's religious or it's just personal choice. Not gonna lie, no pork in this house, and we're on the same page with that. But if we weren't, it could be a bone of contention. So,
The next question is, what do you see your life looking like at 50 years old?
when you ask a question like that, you can learn from somebody what it is that, based off of what it is that they say, and then what it is that they don't say. If you get an answer like, oh, I want to be married, I want to have some kids in a house, it's very generic. It's like, okay, but you want to go a little bit deeper. If you're not getting deeper answers to whether there are questions that are simple or deep questions, you got to start wondering, it's like, how far along has this person thought through their life? That can create barriers for you, because if you have somebody who is planning on a life and results of that life, then being with somebody who is not, it can cause some friction. So
And based on your statement, it's telling as well, right? So you're expressing that you've thought through your life to that point as well. So a generic answer, or what would be perceived to you as a generic answer, is like you're looking for something richer than that. I'm on the same page. But for some people, they haven't thought that far, or they might not be able to conceptualize it to that depth. Might find a partner where they're on the same page and more comfortable at that stage too. So that is telling to what you're looking for in yourself already when you ask that question. Tells kind of where you're at with it as well.
it does, and be careful not to be lying to yourself, because I promise you, if two people who haven't thought and just thought deep enough about it and are just having generic answers, surface level answers, what that creates is a situation where complacency can set in, comfortability, but then also the uncomfortableness. If you do have ambitions and you decide that you don't want to actualize them and you just fall into complacency, a part of that is not having a plan, and a part of not having a plan is not thinking ahead to, say, for instance, when you're 50 years old, as an example. When you place 50 years old, whether it can be 50, 55, 45, whatever, the concept is having an intentional thought about what that looks like and then taking action that follows the steps to create that outcome.
Like it.
Next question.
Question number 3, which kind of feeds off the other question. The pretense is if they have grand dreams and goals, that's a great thing. What have they already done to create that or taken steps to get to that point in their life?
All right. So it'd be, so if, just to role play a little bit, I'd be like, yo, Gingy, what do you see your life looking like when you're 50 years old? And then Gingy gives me her answer. And say it's one of, it's not surface level, there's some depth there. A follow up would then be, okay, and what do you feel like you've done to bring that outcome about? What steps have you taken? Whatever their answer is will tell you if they're pipe dreams or if some sort of thought, some sort of planning, some thought putting into a plan at the very least, and then if not, actions to a plan that's already been thought through. That's what you would be looking for. But
I would agree. It's just kind of like, okay, you say you want to do this. That's the difference between like a dream and a goal in a way, or maybe those aren't the right words to use, but it's like, okay, we have big dreams, but they only stay dreams if we don't put action to them. If we want to make them reality, what are the steps we're taking to get there? Because I could dream all day. I got a lot of big dreams.
yeah,
But if I don't do anything about them, that's exactly where they're going to stay. So then it's kind of, not only does it speak to, okay, how motivated are you and are you going to achieve those goals? Is how real is that going to be when you get to 50? Is that a reality or just an ambition? How real is that going to be when you're 50 if that's your dream or your goal? And then it speaks to character as well. That's what it speaks to your character as well. Okay, you have these goals and these dreams. In your characteristics, is it a trait of yours to be driven enough or to prepare enough to make that happen? Or are you just kind of like, it's going to happen?
yeah.
You know?
I'm very passive about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's good to, like, hey, operate on faith too, but I think there has to be, you have to.
Faith doesn't mean inaction. And
Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
I like that. Faith doesn't mean inaction.
Which brings us to the fourth question that I'm thinking of off the top of my head, plays into this a little bit. What is their social media usage like? The reason why I say that is because when we're on social media, we're looking at other people's dreams, perceived or real, and what it is that they want to show, and that could be a distraction. In my mind, if I'm wondering, like, what does your social media use look like? What I'm really asking is how much of what it is that you think and feel is dictated by outside energies, other people's thoughts and ideas. How much of you are genuine in that your ambition and your mission is yours and it's not a figment of someone else's imagination?
In all honesty and full transparency, I'm thinking about myself. I am able to separate what's coming from somewhere else. Like, I can say, okay, that's an intrusive thought, whether it's positive, negative, whatever. It's like, that's not actually me. And I'm able to identify that. However, I also could significantly continue to reduce my screen time. It's more so like an escape, but it's not really an escape, right? You're still continuing to be overstimulated by all this information, but it's just like, okay, I can zone out. Exactly what you're saying. You're not thinking about your stuff, so you're able to zone out because you're looking at other people's stuff.
It's like tiered, right? And we can all get better in terms of its use, but then also the intention behind it. Because say, for instance, you are spending 3 or 4 hours on it, and then people are like, well, that's fine because that's how I make my money. It's like, all right, yeah, but money isn't the end all be all. Getting the bag isn't the end all be all the way that we are told it is, right? So, and at what cost, right? But then if you're looking at social media and you're using it as a learning tool intentionally, because you're not just following anything, you're following things that, that you're studying. Like, what are you studying? Are you honing your craft, and are you intentionally honing your craft based off of the time that you're spending there, or are you really being distracted? Yeah, I think all of us can get better in terms of the intentional use of it because it is a tool, but that doesn't mean you can't crack a skull with a hammer. Hammer is a great tool, but you can do a lot of damage with it as well.
So the official question for one of the more common ones, or the one to us at least seems like something that would be obvious to talk about with someone that you're planning your life with, is like, do you want to have kids? But taking it to another layer is, one, how were you raised and how would you raise your children? What were your disciplinary experiences? What type of parenting style did you experience? How has that impacted you in your life? and then how are you going to either implement that in your children's lives or alter it and improve upon it, whatever the case may be. So it's like that one question has a whole umbrella of detail that needs to be fleshed out.
Yeah. And that's a great point for that question, and any question that you ask, there's always great detail to be flushed out if you have the intention enough to be curious and continue to ask questions. We tend to try to find things that are relatable, right? Oh, it's like I grew up with this experience. It's like, oh, I had something like that too. It's like, yeah, but instead of showing where you are comparable at that moment, it's like, ask about that experience a little bit deeper. What's a deeper question about that experience? You might find that at layer one, it's like, okay, what kind of childhood did you live through? And then it's like at layer two, you find something out, and then you're like, okay, what about that something? And maybe it does relate, but you don't say it just yet. You find out a little bit more. How much does it relate then? It's like, that's interesting. We're similar in that sense, but did we come out the same? Right? Did we draw from the same? Did we draw the same type of knowledge or similar knowledge? Not that the same is better, because if somebody else draws different conclusions and different thoughts and perspectives from a similar situation, that's like expansion of awareness, right? It's like, what knowledge can we then share? But you can only get to that point in determining if there's knowledge worth to share if you're able to go through the layers and be intentional and curious, even if the questions are at surface level.
Yeah.
But 100%, it's like, what type of childhood did you have? How do you feel like you're going to raise your children? What's the plan? What's your philosophy? How do you feel at this point in time? And also understand that this point in time is very intentional, because somebody might feel different later on. So it's a conversation that's worth revisiting even once visited. So
the characteristics or experiences that you've had in your childhood can shed light on the way that you communicate in your interpersonal relationships as well. So can provide additional understanding and then help you prepare for the future. Final question is another common question. What are your religious and spiritual views and beliefs? And then also, I thought it was important, of course, something common too, and what are your political views kind of thing. I think that it could be possible for both of those things to be different for each individual, and for you still to coexist and it be positive, depending on the extremes, of course, and depending on the other person's understanding or experiences. So that would definitely need conversation as well. I think a lot of people will just, it's automatic deal breaker, like, I am this religion, you're that religion, couldn't work. Or I have this belief, you have that, politically, no go. I think that gets down to the nitty-gritty details of it and the true explanation of, okay, why do we think this way? What does that mean for the relationship? That then feeds back into the kids. How would you raise your kids, especially when it comes to beliefs and religion? So that's kind of what's going through my mind on that.
That question, it's like, I could even reframe it in my mind. What cult do you belong to? Because whether you're talking about religion or political ideology, it's a manifestation of a hive mindset, right, that we took on based off of our association. So at the end of the day, it's like, what cult, short for culture, do you belong to? And then the subcategory of that is like political culture, then a religious culture, societal culture. I think for me, in regards to us, what I was happy to have found a willingness to learn and to also understand differences and not to be so firm, because there's obviously lifestyle differences, right? But with that, it's like, if we create a common goal, then those lifestyle differences aren't so difficult to mold and to be flexible about.
I like that expansion too, because then it's like you touched exactly on what I was thinking, especially in relation to our experiences. The layer of, okay, this has been your experience and this is what you believe. Are you willing to expand and grow on that ideology? Because there are going to be a lot of interactions, even outside of your relationships, where you're not going to see exactly eye to eye. And it's how you react or better yet, how you respond to that interaction. And I think it's better if you don't run away from the discomfort, because it's not something that's bad for you. It's, you know, like, okay, I want to learn your experience. Like you said, be curious. Why do you think this way? I've always been a person that's like, I'm happy to follow rules, but I want to understand why those rules were put into place, kind of thing. So I'm happy for you to experience or exist the way that you have been or want to, if it's healthy and good for you and for us. But where did that come from? Not out of like, where did that come from, but where did that come from, because I want to learn.
All right, and that's it. So we're going to be closing this up. Stay tuned. We have some really cool projects in the works. Keep having conversations. Stay curious.
Also, if there are any other questions that you guys think of while watching, put them in the comments, because personally I would like to read them and see what else I could think of, or what else we could talk about that maybe we haven't already.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, please let us know. Okay, thank you. Bye. Peace.